Will you apologize to the survivors?
When the president passed the Epstein Transparency Act, that was the
Pardon
only
me?
time, when the president signed the Transparency Act, that was when we were legally allowed to release the files. Prior to the passage of the act, which you all passed, I agree.
That is
we
so
were
not the question I'm asking.
It was the question
the
you asked. You
point
asked
that-
5 or 6 questions. I'm answering them in order.
No,
that was one of the questions you
the
asked.
question I want you to answer is, will you apologize to the victims whose names, sensitive personal information, and even nude photos were not redacted by your department? Will you apologize
Of course,
to them?
that was, we
Can I
never want to
hear it
release
today?
a single
That
victim's
is what they
name.
are hearing
But can I
want
answer
to
the question,
hear.
please?
What you just watched is one exchange from a Senate budget hearing on Capitol Hill. The woman asking the question is Patty Murray, senator from Washington State, vice chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, the longest-serving Democratic woman in Senate history. The man not answering is Todd Blanche, acting Attorney General of the United States. Before joining the Justice Department, he spent 2 years as Donald Trump's personal defense attorney. The hearing covered 2 topics: a $1.8 billion fund created without congressional approval, and the Justice Department's release of Epstein Files, which exposed survivors' names and photos while redacting the names of alleged perpetrators. Here is what happened.
Acting Attorney General, right now, families are paying $4, $5, even $6 or $7 for gas. Inflation is at its highest level in years because of the president's policies. But instead of helping Americans get by, President Trump is literally using their tax dollars to set up a slush fund to enrich his own friends. On Monday, your department settled the president's lawsuit by setting up a fund with $1.8 billion, and you and the president will pick the handful of people who decide how that money gets doled out. So let's be clear. What we're talking about is nothing short of the sitting president of the United States looting from the Treasury for his own gain. Do you seriously think this arrangement is appropriate? The president telling the federal government to settle a case and let him pay billions to the people that he chooses?
What you just described wouldn't be appropriate, and that's absolutely not what happened, and that's not what's happening now. So you just set up a series of facts, most of which were not true.
No,
to
they
say
were
is it? No, it's not. I mean,
the president has set up a slush fund, however you want to say that it got set up, and he literally will get to choose through his hand-picked appointees who gets paid that fund. That is absurd.
The president did not set up this fund. It's not a slush fund. It's been done many times. We have lots of funds.
Well, I heard your response earlier to Senator Van Hollen. This is not comparable to the case that you cited. A judge was not involved. This is the president versus himself setting up a fund.
The judge wasn't involved in the distribution in the Keep Siegel case at all. It just wasn't. There was a single commissioner that was set up, not 5. And so when
the judge signed off on that case.
Yes, it was at a much later point in the litigation.
That's
right.
my point. That is all of our point. And I just have to tell you, this is corruption that has never been more blatant or more widespread. What is happening is you write the check, Trump and his cronies cash it, American taxpayers who are already being whacked with high prices are going to foot the bill. That's what we are seeing today, and that is what many of us are really, really angry about.
Blanche maintained that the fund was legal, precedented, and not a slush fund. Murray maintained that a sitting president directing the settlement of his own lawsuit and selecting who receives the payout had no comparable precedent. That exchange did not resolve. Murray moved on to the Epstein Files.
This Department of Justice is sending the message that if you're wealthy, if you're powerful, if you are well-connected, you won't be held accountable even if you abuse children. You know us after Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act and DOJ finally began to release the files, your department exposed survivors' names, their sensitive personal information, and even nude photos, while redacting names of alleged perpetrators of those crimes. The message that sends is this Department of Justice worked harder to protect the privacy of potential child abusers than the survivors. Your predecessor refused to apologize to those victims, but I want to give you the same opportunity to apologize for the way the department handled the release of these documents. Will you apologize to the survivors?
When the president passed the Epstein Transparency Act, that was the
Pardon
only
me?
time, when the president signed the Transparency Act, that was when we were legally allowed to release the files. Prior to the passage of the act, which you all passed, I agree.
That is
we
so
were
not the question I'm asking.
It was the question
the
you asked. You
point
asked
that-
5 or 6 questions. I'm answering them in order. That
No,
was one of the questions you
the
asked.
question I want you to answer is, will you apologize to the victims whose names, sensitive personal information, and even nude photos were not redacted by your department? Will you
Of
apologize to
course,
them?
we
Can I
never want to
hear it
release
today?
a single
That
victim's
is what
name.
they are hearing
But can I
want
answer
to
the question,
hear.
please? Is it
I'm
fair?
asking if you'll apologize.
So I just said yes, but I would like an explanation to be given to that. What this act did is it required us to review over 6 million pieces of paper in a very short period of time. And so 0.001%, we made mistakes, and we owned up to them. And the second that a victim or their lawyer told us that we made a mistake, we pulled that document down, and we put lawyers 24/7 in being responsive to victims and their lawyers to make sure that we fixed every single problem. And so yes,
I
mistakes
hear
were-
your anger.
I'm not
and I
angry.
will
No, I'm not
tell-
angry.
I hear
I'm
your
just
anger,
making sure
and I
it's
will tell you
understood
who's really
that
angry is
we
people who
matter,
had their
that-
nude photos released. I just want to hear you say, I apologize to those victims.
So as I just said, of course, any time we release a victim's name that shouldn't be released, we have failed as a Department of Justice. And so we have to do everything that we can to not fail.
Well,
And so
I haven't heard the words, I apologize.
I'm trying to give you
those
an
victims.
explanation of what happened. I don't think you're
Okay.
really interested in that because you keep
Well,
on cutting
I am,
me
but
off.
I have a few more questions here, and I want to know, and I know that Senator Van Hollen raised this, but I want to ask, will you personally commit to meeting with the survivors? I have heard from them personally that DOJ refused to meet them, and I'm asking about you. I'm asking about the Justice Department reaching out to them to be heard, not waiting for them to navigate a legal system that has obviously repeatedly failed them so far.
Can I answer?
Yeah, will you reach out to them?
So as we have said repeatedly, of course, any lawyer, now if a victim has a lawyer, I'm not allowed to reach out to the victim directly, you know that. But any lawyer can reach out to the Department of Justice. They have, and I've met with many victims and their lawyers, as has the FBI, as has the SDNY. We will always meet with victims' counsel. Any victim
will
or their
always
lawyer
meet
can
with
come forward to the
victims' counsel.
FBI
With these
at any
women,
time.
and I've met with them, and I know Senator Van Hollen has, and so many other, they are personally so feeling abused again and again and again by what happened to them originally, and now but what's happening by them. I am saying to you, as a human being, don't make them navigate a system that is impossible to navigate, that's already abused them. Reach out and ask to meet
So
with
wait,
them.
you're
That is
asking
all
me
I'm
to
asking
call, you want me to personally call the victims? Is that
I
what you're
can
asking me
help
to
you
do?
reach them.
Oh, that would be great. Yes, because we have said
And
from
you
day
will meet
one,
with them if
of
I reach
course,
out to you.
there have been members that have done that. And we immediately reach out to the victims or their lawyers when the lawyers want
Well,
and say they want to do it.
We will follow up on that. Thank you very much.
2 topics, 1 witness. On the $1.8 billion fund, Blanche said it was not a slush fund. Murray said the president was directing the settlement of his own lawsuit and selecting who gets paid. On the Epstein Files, Murray asked 4 times for a direct apology. Blanche said the department had failed. He said, of course. He said yes. The words, I apologize, were not spoken. These exchanges are on the public record. We continue examining what happens inside these hearings. Subscribe to the News Desk USA and turn on notifications.